Hi there. I might only get 5 views or something for this video, and apparently the view count was off because at one time I had 0 views, but still 4 likes, which is an amazing achievement, I guess. Somebody from up there or some other spiritual being liking my videos and nobody actually having watched them, or it's kind of a let's say futuristic effect in the electronics of the YouTube system. I always like to, I really like to hack some videos into YouTube that are antedated, and so that I can do very smart predictions and seem to be completely right later on. But today I saw a video which was really amazing. It's a video made by Lyndon Larouche on the Larouche Pack channel, and it's directed at children. And Lyndon Larouche is explaining to the children that we used to have reptiles on Earth, and then we had mammals, but the reptiles were way more efficient because reptiles are cold-blooded, they use only 10% of the energy of mammals. They eat much less and they're slow and at night, but during the day they warm up and then they catch their algae or whatever, they seaweed. And we mammals are really very wasteful animals, and we should really be ashamed of it. That's actually sad. This is such a immense cruelty to make a video like that, but it's also insane because of course the video reeks of let's say design, type of evolution, but the general premise of his story is that reptiles were more efficient with their resources than plants came to feed us mammals, and we are basically on a whole high pyramid of food chain as oxygen breathing warm-blooded mammals. We basically forced those plants into the environment and they crowded out the reptiles. And but we were a mistake. We were an error. And this is basically the whole tenure of Larouche's talk, is that humanity and our culture is an error. Which is a horrible, first of all, it's horrible to teach children that they should be ashamed to be a mammal, and that they are an error, and that they should basically long for a world which is barren of too much plants and full of reptiles, in which they basically don't exist anymore. Talk about creating a suicidal mentality. It's horrible. It's amazingly cruel. It should be taken offline. This guy is insane, but he is really insane because well, if he talks about it to his audience, he says, well, yeah, well, humanity was a mistake and we really didn't achieve very much. But you listen to him with the mind of a NLP expert, or not an expert, but somebody trained in neuro-linguistic programming or hypnosis, and you recognize that he's basically using some key terms because his story is not connected at all. He's just dwelling on the fact that people keep listening to him, just like I can dwell on the fact that you keep listening to, and I can say banana, banana, fruit flies are amazing, and then continue with my story, and you will think, well, that's probably part of the story. What does it mean? And you'll try to find a meaning, you put it somewhere. In this case, it actually illustrates what I was getting at. But if people talk for a long time, and the listener is shoved around a little bit, like Lyndon Larouche constantly uses this term, energy flux, something positronic, some kind of term, which most people it doesn't mean anything. It's not important. It's just the fact that people are brought up with a respect or an awe for high tech. And that, of course, has been very important in industrial evolution and in the 20th century, that you teach people that if you are modernizing and you're improving, between brackets of course, introducing new species of GM crops and all that stuff, that is good. That you should be respectful. And what he also does is he puts in JFK assassination. Everybody remembers that. He puts in let's say the moon landing space shuttles. Those are kind of the reference key point. Like everybody goes like, oh, basically you're like old person going, I don't really get what he's talking about, but he sounds smart, and then he says JFK killed. Oh yeah, I remember that. You can put, and that's the same way everybody talks, every discussion goes, even this video is about topics where you go like, oh yeah, well, yeah, that's something yeah, okay, that's interesting. And then now, hopefully, I add something to the value of your reality, your perception of it, by putting it in a context that makes more sense than it did before, and some context you really couldn't achieve. So it's a narrative that reorganizes the concepts that you know, that your experiences, possibly in a way that puts it into more coherence, hopefully, and then truthfully, hopefully. But with Lyndon Larouche, that's just not the case, because he's a creationist. He's intelligent design type guy. He talks about it. He puts people on the wrong foot in terms of science by saying, well, you see, it's the highest thing that people can create is that they are creative, or that they have achieved is as a species that we are creative. All the other species are not creative, but we are creative, and that creativity is what we find in science. You see, that makes it sound and makes it acceptable to believe, that basically lifts you over the barrier where you say, well, no, there's facts. I mean, at the same time he talks about facts, but of course it's a fact-free zone where there are some facts, but how relevant are they? So this is basically, it's a wannabe type of person. And you know, that's like if I go to, let's say I make videos here, and I travel to Congo in a month or something, and I travel around there, and I don't make video, but I have slideshows about it where I've been. Then I know all kinds of stuff that you don't know. You didn't have time to find it out. You didn't have the courage or the money to go to the Congo, so you have to listen to me, because you're fascinated with the whole idea of Africa and Congo, and you know, jungles and rhinos and all that stuff. Violence and murder and assassination in that region, you know, it's all very fascinating, even to me. That's why I would like to go. But Lyndon Larouche is an emissary of intellectualism that people have not had the time to achieve, and now he's feeding them crap. And not only them, but also their grandchildren. And then there might be some people that listen to him that say, well, yes, humanity is doomed, but you know, I'm 70, so who cares? But let's not change too much. Let's not make it all completely disturbed, and let's not create mayhem. So let's shut up the younger generation. Let's tell them that they should live in a world with only reptiles and no plants anymore. So that when they grow up and the world is like that, they'll say, yes, of course, sure, and I'm really ashamed to be a mammal and to be around. I'm really a high burden on. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's even depressing to me to listen to that. I'll link to this video beneath it. It's crazy. But there are more people like that. There are more people addressing older people and telling them that you know, either you have to look in the future, so you have to hope for the best and don't do anything, or you have to be very depressed and it's not going to go anywhere. And it's just, you know, the simple fact, and this links to my last video, the simple fact that you can have people make up stories and address large amounts of other people with a clear agenda, of course, with an agenda to promote his own you know, farts and his audience, keep it captivated and stuff like that. That's fine, you know, but there's immorality in it, and it makes it even more complicated to do something about the situation. See? So I'm actually a little bit pissed off about this type of person. There's many of them, but I'm amazed at the inventiveness and the boldness of daring to tell children that they're basically the wrong species. And then he has the history all wrong, because of course mammal, anyway, that's a long story, but one of the things that I can say about it is he talks about species. He says, well, the reptiles are more efficient than the mammals. But efficiency is a very tricky term, and it's used and abused a lot in energy politics as well, because some types of windmills are more efficient than other types of windmills. And some types of air conditioners are more efficient than other types of air conditioners. But you should always wonder, what does efficiency mean? In terms of what? Because you have to use, if you are concerned about efficiency, you have to use a resource efficiently, so that you get more air conditioner, more mammals, more life. And you should wonder, do I want that? And the funny thing, you know, with air conditioners, it's the COP, coincidence of performance, which is higher with electrical than with solar-based air conditioners. But sunshine is free and electricity is not free. With windmills and of different types, the vertical are less efficient than the horizontal. But the cost of vertical windmills is way lower. So per euro you build a much more productive windmill if it's a vertical windmill. But of course, because the industry didn't want those, didn't want to have productive windmills, they were promoting the vertical, which is more efficient. And with mammals the same way. What does efficient mean? With animals, what does efficient mean? Well, you have a very good answer for that. It's called evolution. Evolution will say whatever is has a right, or doesn't have a right to be, but whatever is. And if it's not efficient enough, it will die, it will disappear, it will be eaten. So apparently mammals are there's no efficiency criteria at all in terms of mammals. It's like, even if you're a tiger and you're, let's say I'm a tiger and I eat impalas, or maybe that's a different continent, I'm a lion and I eat impalas, and then could I ever wonder, like, is this impala efficient? In terms of what? In terms of converting grass into impala, or in terms of not converting grass into impala, because then it would be lighter and easier, would flee easily, or let's say, I'm not sure. Really, there's no such notion as efficiency in terms of an organism. It's really funny, you know. So I can maybe, okay, well, of course, if you're a Buddhist or you're ascetic, then you're a more efficient human being than, let's say, if you're a Buddhist or ascetic carpenter, you would be more efficient human being than a hamburger gorging, let's say, super lazy, whatever, carpenter. But that means that you have that requires that you have utility, and the only utility in nature that animals have towards each other is that they can eat each other. And if you want to eat an animal, you really want it not to be that efficient, actually. You want it to be very inefficient. It's a complete mystery to me what he means with that. But so, I think the judgment can be made that Lyndon Larouche is a complete idiot, moron. It's dangerous, and he's misguiding older generation people that should care about the younger generation and should have a mind of optimism. You know, if you're close to death, then why not be an optimist? You know, there's nothing to lose, really. You know, why not be constructive? If you're, why be so egocentric to be depressed and sad about the fact? There's really no reason at all. Anyway, I'll link to the video below this, and I hope this was interesting, and maybe I get some views before I get likes. It would be more appropriate for YouTube.